Hello, everyone. Thank you for checking out today's episode of Hardball Sports Talk. My name is Brandon, and joining me, like always, is my good friend Alex. Alex, how are you today?
Ahoy, Brandon. I am doing great. With some of the news that you're telling me off air, I'm looking forward to it, and that's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, we'll give these guys some spoilers here real quick. But we have some potential guests coming on the show that we are, let's just say, fanboying over. We'll leave it at that. We're gonna announce at some point, but every episode for the next probably couple weeks, we will give you guys a teaser of who and where. So today's teaser is we're fanboying over this. So if you know anything about us, now I know some of you because of relationships and stuff like that. Like I've told a lot of people in my family and a few close friends because like it's really exciting news going on here. But I'm trying to keep it as small circle as I can
Mm-hmm.
with how excited I am even. But we've talked before, we are having Jeff from Rounders on too. We are still working with him to have him on the show. We are working on dates with him right now, so hopefully we'll get him on the show here in the next couple weeks. The time frame we talked is somewhere between uh, Super Bowl and opening day. We just got our first comment of the day from David Burns, watching from Cedar Hill, Texas. Thank you, David, for checking us out. I hope you enjoy the show. So we are talking about our future here right now. We have some, like I said, pretty exciting times coming. Normally we record on Wednesday, though. Today is Friday. The reason why we are doing it on Friday is because I had a fever earlier this week. I am feeling a lot better. But it was basically I came home from work and I went right to bed, and I didn't have any energy to do anything else. So I am feeling a lot better, though. But let's get moving here. We have a lot going on today. A couple coaching hires in the NFL and our uh, NFL awards picks. First, we have Washington hiring Dan Quinn as their head coach. The Washington Commanders moved on from Ron Rivera and hired Dan Quinn. I honestly pegged Dan Quinn for the Seattle job.
Yeah,
He's a good
same here.
football coach. I'm not really upset by this pick, but I am a little honestly confused by it because now they might be completely different coaches. I have never met either one guy, but it almost feels like he's a kind of a version of Ron Rivera, as in he coached another different team to a Super Bowl and he's a defensive minded coach, and then he goes to Washington. I feel like, again, might be a different personality, but I feel like this is basically just what you just got rid of in a weird way. I'm
Yeah,
kind of shocked
yeah.
they didn't go with an offensive coach, but that is my take. Again, I have Dan Quinn's a heck of a football coach, bringing Atlanta to the Super Bowl. And the Dallas defense has been really good the last couple of years. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I was kind of shocked that Washington went out and hired Dan Quinn. This means that Bill Belichick is not coaching next season or this coming season.
But
Pete
we
Carroll's
talked
not.
about that with
Yeah.
well, sorry for interrupting, with Bill Belichick. It was the owner was going to be the one that hires Bill Belichick, because when you're hiring, now I understand the NFL coaching cycle is 3 years, like that's how long a coach's life is
Hmm.
pretty much. But when you hire a coach, you don't think it's going to be a 3-year marriage. You think this is going to be the guy that brings me the Super Bowl.
Right.
So, but when you hire Belichick, you are hiring him for 3 years.
Yeah.
So I'm not really shocked that Belichick didn't get a job. Uh, Pete Carroll, I'm kind of a little shocked
The
that he
one.
didn't.
Yeah. The one
But
that
again, he's 72,
honestly
so
shocks me the most is Vrabel not getting a job
yeah, that one shocks me. I really
because
thought if Washington was going to go the former coach route, they would have gone with Vrabel.
I mean, I think we talked about it. That was one of the stops that we had him going to. And like kind of what we said too when Tennessee fired him, and we all were shocked when we found out. Uh, we thought, oh, he's going to be number one on pretty much everyone's list,
Yeah,
and turns out he was probably like 10, and I don't know. It's kind of shocking that he didn't get either this job or the Seattle job.
But I guess it could be the same thing with our good friend Ben Johnson, the Lions offense coordinator. I understand he pulled his name out of the hat for the
Mhm.
Seattle job. But I also know there's a lot of people who were saying that he wanted way too much money. So
Yeah.
with Belichick and Vrabel, was that also the situation?
I
Um,
Belichick was different 'cause
yeah, he was gonna
um,
coach for the record.
that and it based on what I heard about him in his interviews with Atlanta is, the front office was like, "No, we're not giving you our power, if we bring you in," but the owner
And
wanted him,
that's the other thing
so
with Belichick is
yeah.
he's not gonna wanna work with the front office you have there. He's gonna want his own front office.
Mhm, and
So,
I heard this today, I don't know how true it was, but apparently before Washington hired Dan Quinn, at, like, the 11th hour, they, reached out to Bill Belichick, and it was too late by then, I guess, apparently.
yeah.
I don't know
I
how
didn't
true
hear
that
that,
is,
but I
but
wouldn't I wouldn't be shocked by that.
yeah.
Next, we'll move on now to Seattle hiring Mike McDonald. If you look at if you're watching on our YouTube or on our Facebook or our Twitch, first off, thank you so much for watching us. Second off, yes, that is spelled right. We Googled it, both of us Googled it. I'm like, that doesn't look right. So I had Alex Google it too, and he's like, that's what I see too. So, but as far as we can tell, that is how you spell Mike McDonald's name. He was the defense coordinator in Baltimore. Before that, he was with Jim Harbaugh at the University of Michigan, and really solid defensive mind. I like this hire. I again though, like at the same time, I don't. It's kind of like that weird thing of
Yeah.
you go from Pete Carroll defensive mind to the defensive mind, but you're also going from the oldest to the youngest. So you're going for I guess
Yeah.
from one extreme to the other, and just not the normal extreme. So,
Right.
but
Right.
McDonald at Michigan and Baltimore had really good defenses. Seattle's been known for their defense for the last 15 years or so. So it's
Mhm.
a good hire if that's the mindset you want to keep going in Seattle, which I don't see why they wouldn't.
Right.
And even the last couple of years, I mean, Pete Carroll, he's done fine. Like we were shocked. That was another one we were shocked with when he got fired
Mhm.
because when you trade away Russell Wilson, you're expecting to rebuild, and then all of a sudden you're making the playoffs with Geno Smith year one.
Right.
Year two, you're a game out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, I like this hire overall. There's a few things about it I'm a little iffy about, but
Were
overall, I
you
think it's a good hire.
were you shocked that he got this job? Like, I never
Uh,
heard his name out there. That's the only reason why. I
I
mean,
so
maybe we heard it,
the
like, maybe
longer
once I've heard it, but
the longer that these openings stayed, especially the last two, these two, the more worried I was as a Lions fan with Ben Johnson. I've heard Aaron Glenn's name out there, and I've not figured out why because they've watched the Lions defense.
yeah, that's true.
I mean, I guess how much of it is on coaching, how much of it is on lack of talent, especially in the secondary.
Yeah.
But I have heard McDonald's name mentioned in head coaching searches.
Okay.
I'm not entirely sure like how much of a favorite he was. Like
Yeah, he yeah.
for example, are either of these hires because Ben Johnson pulled out,
Mhm.
and no front office is ever going to say, well, we only hired this guy because our option A said
Right.
no, thank you. Like we'll
Right.
never know the truth.
It's like all
But
those people in the draft that said, "Oh, no, we were gonna take him this
yeah,
round," or
you were
whatever,
not,
but
you
yeah,
liar.
no, no, you're just saying that.
I mean, and you can't say the truth either because
Right, yeah.
you know, as a Christian, yes, I'm saying you should lie. Like, I'm sorry, but you can't say the truth in that situation. You can keep your mouth shut. That might be your best option.
Yeah, bite
But
your tongue.
yeah, bite your tongue and just say, yeah, this was our plan, yeah, our backup plan, but it still was a plan.
Right.
But on Monday's show, we will go talk about all the head coaching hires. We're going to rank them from best to worst. The ones that we like the most will be higher up, obviously, and the ones that we are not fans of will rank lower. I did this episode by myself when I first started the podcast. It was the year that, uh, who was it? That guy from Denver,
Oh,
Hackett.
Hackett, Nathaniel
Yeah.
Hackett.
So it was that year that I did the ranking episode, and there was a couple that had really ranked really good that were stinkers, but I also got a few right. So I feel like I hit
Mhm.
about 50%, which is pretty good for really not having any inside information whatsoever,
Right.
and really just being a fan that watches games on Sundays. And I mean, I'll watch all the off season stuff, but like I'm not like one of those like diehards or anything like that either. I'm a diehard of every sport, so I have to basically go into season mode.
Right. Yeah.
For example, we were talking last week, me and you were when we were getting ready to watch the Lions game. It was this is kind of weird. Like we're normally in draft mode and ready countdown for opening day. Like what are we doing right
Yeah.
now?
Yeah, exactly. We
But
were in unknown territory.
yeah, we were in. This is a good comment right here. I forgot to mention
Mm,
this at the beginning of the show. Rest in peace to Carl Weathers. Uh, Obviously, he was in the Rocky movies. He was also Chubbs in Happy Gilmore.
yeah.
And then if you're in more of a spoof movie, he was in the Comebacks. He played. I don't remember who he was in that movie. I think he was in the Comebacks,
I
wasn't he?
can't remember. I It sounds familiar. I'll look it up while
Yeah.
you keep talking.
But he was a great actor. Lots of sports movies. Uh, Most famous for Rocky, and like the comment said, he was a former NFL player. I believe he was a safety. I saw that news earlier today. I was actually going to talk about it on the show, and it completely slipped my mind. So thank you for that comment. Yeah, like I said, I've been sick the last few days, and basically saying, "Oh, we should probably do a show." And then with all this other stuff going on that we've been focusing on all day, maybe I'm thinking somebody else, but I thought he was in the Comebacks.
Yes, he was in the comebacks.
Okay, I thought so. It's been a
He
minute since I've seen that
Yeah.
movie.
Another movie he was more famous, or not more famous, but another famous movie was the first Predator
Yep,
movie. He was hunting him.
yep. So very sad there when I saw that news that he passed away. Obviously, we thoughts or prayers with his friends and family during this hard time. Uh, there's no easy way to transition from that, but we're going to try our best. We're going to move on to now our NFL awards. So what we're going to do is we're going to basically say who we think's going to win the award, and then we're going to go, if I had a vote, I would vote for fill in the blank. So this doesn't mean that we necessarily think that individual will win the award. We're just saying that this is who we'd pick, and then we'd state our case. So, for example, my MVP, which we're going to do last, my MVP is somebody that name has not been mentioned at all for MVP. Like, you will not hear this name on one network. And I'm going to
I
give you an argument on why he's the MVP of this league.
I
Uh,
think you mentioned this before, so I'm gonna guess it before you tell everyone.
yeah. Well, I think I
So
talked about it on the show one time,
yeah. Okay, then
but
yeah, I think I know it. But yeah, when we get there,
yeah.
then I'll guess it.
But the first one we're going to talk about is the comeback player of the year. It's called Comeback Player of the Year. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's the player who had the best comeback season. Nationally, I'd be shocked if Damar Hamlin does not win this award, just because of everything off the field that happened to him. Obviously, literally dying on the field and then coming back and playing. That's an
Mhm.
impressive story. I'm so glad that he was able to come back, not even just to football, but just back to life, like in general. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and like the fact that he's playing football again is amazing.
Mhm.
I mean, you're worried about if you're going to live or not, and now all of a sudden, 8 months later, whatever long it was, you're back on the football field.
Right.
That is absolutely crazy. So kudos to the medical staff there in Buffalo that night, and his actually it was Cincinnati. I'm sorry, it was in Cincinnati that night.
Yeah.
But and then
Everyone involved.
obviously, yeah, everyone involved, really, both sides, and I mean, the NFL did the right thing there by canceling that game. I mean, there's no way. I've been in games where a teammate broke a bone and I was shattered after that. And now, granted, that was only high school sports,
Right.
but and these guys have seen broken bones, but like when you don't see people dead on the ground.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
exactly.
kudos to the NFL there for canceling that game. Anyways, if you had a pick for comeback player of the year, who would you vote for?
I would vote for Baker Mayfield. He got casted away with the Browns organization. They wanted upgraded at quarterback. He goes to the Panthers where he struggled a little bit. At one point, I believe he was a scout defensive end because they just didn't want him anymore. And then he kind of gets his career revived in Tampa Bay. I know a lot of people tend to lean away from him. But I was rooting for him. I'm rooting for anyone to get their their comeback. Number one pick at one point gets cast away, and he led the team to the playoffs. So if I had to vote, I'd pick Baker Mayfield.
In the wise words of Coach Corso, nice pick, nice young man, nice pick. Um, Comment on Baker Mayfield. I always root for him just because I'm a Michigan fan, and when he planted his old flag in the middle of Ohio State's field, I thought that was absolutely hilarious. No, at the quarterback position, you probably can't be doing stuff like that, but I absolutely loved it. I'm also going to take a quarterback, but mine's going to be Joe Flacco, just
Yeah.
because, again, I think he was third string quarterback for the Jets last year, and then he's
Hmm.
basically sitting on the couch with his kids, and then the Cleveland goes through 4 quarterbacks and gives him a call and says, "Hey, we need help." And so he comes up, and they're without Nick Chubb, and they bring back Kareem Hunt, and then Joe Flacco turns them into a passing team. So
Right.
my pick would be Joe Flacco, just because,
Yeah.
and again, leading that team to the playoffs. Now,
Yeah.
granted, these awards do not take in consideration postseason performances. These are
Mm-mm.
all picked before the postseason starts. So, for
Yeah.
example, Dan Campbell, Coach of the Year, if that he wins it, it's not he didn't lose it because of the championship game or win it because of that. He already won or lost it before the season.
Right.
So, quick recap here. We believe that Damar Hamlin, I think you agree with that, is going to
Yep.
win.
Yeah.
Our picks are you have Baker Mayfield and I have Joe Flacco. If you guys have any picks for any of these, leave us a comment and we'll shout you guys out. Defensive Player of the Year. This one is a little bit trickier, but I think it's going to be uh, Myles Garrett. I think he's going to get the award, but again, or Micah Parsons, either one. Actually, I think it's going to be more Micah Parsons just because of the national attention that the Cowboys get.
Hmm.
That's my guess is Micah Parsons. Now, my personal pick would be Myles Garrett, just because I think he's more dominant, more consistently. Micah Parsons has flash in the pans, but outside the first 4 weeks, you really didn't hear his name very much in any highlight reel or anything like that.
Right.
But so I think Micah Parsons is going to win it just because of the Cowboys thing. And my
Yeah.
pick is Myles Garrett.
I have TJ Watt winning that. I just watch his gameplay.
Yeah.
You take him off that defense, they're not winning uh games, in my opinion. And he was close to setting the record, wasn't he? Or did he set it? The
I think
sack
it was
record?
close. I don't think he got it.
Okay. Either way, um, I think TJ Watt would be my vote.
All right, so recap on that one. Alex's would vote for TJ Watt. I would vote for Myles Garrett, and I think Micah Parsons is going to win.
Hmm.
This is one of those where there's not one clear answer. I
Right.
think the rest of the awards, I think there's a clear favorite. Defensive Player of the Year, there's really not. I think all 3 guys that we mentioned have a legitimate shot at winning. For example, Comeback Player of the Year, both of our guys are deserving, but it's going to go to Damar Hamlin because you can't say no to that story.
Right. He
Or
played a
when we're
snap
going to talk,
record.
or when we get to the MVP, it's going to be Lamar Jackson. We both know that. But
Hmm.
if we had to vote, this is who we vote for. But moving on to the next one, this one has intriguing names. I still think it's a one-man race, though. The NFL Coach of the Year award. So I'll just go out and say who I think is going to win, and it's also the same person as I'm picking, and that is Kevin Stefanski from the Cleveland Browns.
Mm.
Just because, like what I said with Joe Flacco, is they went through 4 quarterbacks. Your starting quarterback, Deshaun Watson, who is a headache in himself, he doesn't play for basically most of the season. And then you lose your top running back, and then you have to call in your old running back from the street, who's a shell of himself, basically. And then
Right.
you bring in Joe Flacco, who is 39 years old, off the couch, and you make a playoff run with this team. Now, I
Right.
understand you have a really good defense led by Jim Schwartz and
Yeah.
company, and Myles Garrett and all those guys. I understand the defense was incredible in Cleveland, but the fact that he was able to keep that locker room together and get a playoff caliber team, a playoff team, and they were honestly
Mhm.
expected to go into Houston and win that game. Now, again, these awards don't take into account playoff appearances or anything like that,
Right.
but that's my pick, and that's who I think will win is Kevin Stefanski.
This one was one of the three-way ties that I was telling you before. My pick actually is D'Amico Ryans.
That's a good one,
First
too.
first year coach. You have a rookie quarterback who's we both agreed, and we didn't. I don't think we have it on here, but he's
No.
going to win the offensive rookie of the year.
Yep.
But your first year rookie quarterback, you're not supposed to win your division. You're not supposed to make the playoffs, and D'Amico Ryan got those guys ready. They played for him, and they ended up sneaking into the playoffs.
Yep.
So I think he would get my vote for it. Um, I couldn't pick who should get it, but if I had to vote, it would be D'Amico Ryan. The other honorable mention, obviously, is Dan Campbell.
Yeah. Now we're both Lions fans, so there's a little bias pick there with Dan Campbell. The one reason I don't think Dan Campbell is going to get it is even though he did take a Lions team to the playoffs with 11 wins, or I think they had 11 wins in the regular season. Were they
I think they
11 and
went
6 or
to
12 and
no,
5?
they were 12-5.
Okay, so they're 12 and 5. Even better. But like we talked about on our episode the other day, the Lions were expected to win their division. So
Yeah.
like it's not like he brought a team that wasn't expected to do anything and did something with them. He just did what he was supposed to do, but it's because it's the Lions, it's more impressive.
Yeah, for the history of the Lions, yeah.
So that's kind of why I'm staying away from Dan Campbell, just
Yeah.
because now if like Jared Goff, for example, went down with an injury and we ended up going with Hendon Hooker, for example, our third string quarterback, and we still made the playoffs, and heck yeah, I'm voting for Dan Campbell because
Right,
that's the same
right.
argument for Stefanski.
Stefanski, yeah.
But yeah, but again, there's no wrong answer for this one either. All three guys are very deserving of it, but that's why I would take Stefanski and even D'Amico Ryan over Dan Campbell. I've
Yeah.
seen lists though where Campbell's at like 6 or 7. I'm like, all right, that's a little ridiculous. Again, I'm Homer, but give the guy his
Yeah.
respect. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like I mean, how many times have we seen the Lions supposed to be the team and they never were? And then finally tonight for you guys, our MVPs. Like I said, it's gonna be Lamar's award to lose,
Yeah.
and
Can I guess,
he's gonna
who
win.
you think should win it?
Yeah, so you
Or
go
if
ahead and tell the crowd who I'm voting for.
Brandon had to vote, he'd be voting for one Mr. Kirk D. Cousins.
That's right, I would.
Yeah.
And the argument I gave when we talked about this in the episode a couple of weeks ago, I don't know how long ago it was Steve Nash. And I don't
Mhm.
remember what year it was, and I should have looked this up, but again, sick
Early
brain and everything else.
2000s.
Yeah, early 2000s. He was with, I believe, the Phoenix Suns at the time. And he got hurt early or somewhere in the season. He missed most of that season. That team was in the race for playoff spot. Like they were favorites for a deep playoff run. Steve Nash goes out and they fall apart and they basically suck that year.
Mhm.
And there was even people on national TV who were like, "Hey, Steve Nash should probably get MVP awards because like that stands for most valuable player." So to me, most valuable player means you take that player off that team, and that team sucks. And now you could say, yeah, take Lamar off that team and they suck. Tyler Huntley is a halfway decent quarterback in this league. We saw that last year.
I would say, yeah, when he played last year, he was yeah.
Yeah. You can float with him.
Mhm.
The Vikings, they lose Kirk Cousins. They are literally fighting, like we talked about it on the show. When the Vikings were coming for us, I was scared. I was like, we're going to lose the division to the Vikings, aren't we?
Mhm.
And then Cousins goes down, and I go, whoa, wait a second now.
Yeah.
And then they bring out Nick Mullins, and they trade for Josh Dobbs, and Josh Dobbs had that. There was a moment in time where everyone thought he's going to win Comeback Player of the Year,
Yeah.
and then he came back to earth. And then they had that 5th round pick from BYU. I can't think of his name on the top of my head right now, but
Exactly.
yeah. But so you basically have Nick Mullins and Josh Dobbs and a rookie from BYU. And now this is, again, why Kevin Stefanski is winning Coach of the Year, because he had the exact same thing as Minnesota, and he made his team go to the playoffs without Justin Jefferson in the receiver room, by the way.
Mhm.
But I'm not taking anything away from the Vikings coaching staff. I'm just telling you why Kirk Cousins is winning MVP in my book.
Right.
Because you take Kirk Cousins off that team, and again, as a Lions fan that has watched this division for the last 32 years of my life, the Vikings were going to win that division. Like, there's
Yeah.
no doubt in my mind the Vikings were winning that division. Maybe
Mhm.
it's the here we go again, like same old Lions crap. Like, I mean, I like yell at people for, but like it's always in the back of your head too as a Lions fan. You try not to be that guy, but like
It's
to an extent, you're always going to be that guy.
it's PTSD.
It really is. So like you see the Vikings coming, and you're like, oh my goodness, are you serious? This is happening right now. So like, and then all of a sudden Cousins goes down, and then they fall apart, and Nick Mullins is colorblind or something and doesn't know what team to throw to.
Eh, he just
I mean,
threw
I
it up there
enjoyed
to
it.
whoever. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
he it was like
worked out
the
for him.
that's he went to the same college as Brett Favre. I wonder if they have like a class there, quarterback 1-on-1, and they just say close your eyes and throw it as far as you can and pray somebody catches it.
Yes.
Like I honestly
Yeah.
wonder if they teach that at that college. But my vote would be Kirk Cousins just because again the award is called most valuable player, not best player or most outstanding player. It's most valuable player.
Yeah.
And you take Kirk Cousins off the Vikings and they're not a playoff team. You put Kirk Cousins on the Vikings and they are competing with the Lions for the division crown, and they are probably at worst taking the Packers playoff spot.
Mhm.
So that is why I picked Cousins.
Yeah, my pick was, Josh Allen if I had a vote, and he's got talent. You take him off that team, I don't see them winning their division. Um, yeah, you got Diggs as a good receiver, but that defense had so many injuries throughout the season. The Bills needed to lean on Allen. Now granted, there were times when they lost games because of him, but they won a lot of games because of him, and they won the division because of him. So if I
That's
had a
the
vote,
Brett
I would.
Favre effect again.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's Brett Favre over again. But yeah, I would. My vote would have been for Allen if I had a vote to win the.
A couple names that we brought up sporadically throughout the season. Both of us agreed at one point that Tyreek Hill probably should get consideration for this award, just
Hmm.
because of how dynamic Miami's offense was because of him. And if you take him off that offense, yeah, you still have Waddle, but I just don't think it's at that level still. And then another player that would absolutely never get any votes is Trent Williams, the offensive lineman from San Francisco. And the reasoning behind that one was if you look at the 3-game losing streak that San Francisco was on earlier in the season, he was out for all 3 of those games. And then the 4th game they lost, he actually got hurt that game. So their first 4 losses of the season, he either didn't play in or he got hurt in. So that's why I would take Trent Williams. I don't have any stats or anything like that for offensive linemen. I don't believe he allowed a sack all season though, too. So
Right.
that would be why I would take Trent Williams. But again, uh, my pick would be Kirk Cousins. But like I said at the beginning, it's going to be Lamar Jackson, and
Hmm.
you might as well just hand him the award now.
Right. And this was the question I was going to ask you. Do you think the NFL should kind of adapt the MLB and make their own MVP for QBs because it's been a
Like the Cy
QB. Yeah, like you have Cy Young and then you have MVP in MLB. Do you think they should adapt to that? Because the last time a non QB won, I believe, was 2006. But it's been nothing but quarterbacks.
I don't know. It's a quarterback driven league, so
That's fair.
it's not like baseball did it because pitchers were dominating the headlines of the sport. They just did it because it's such a different position than everything else that
Yeah.
you couldn't like, how do you compare, for example, Miguel Cabrera hitting 40 home runs to Justin Verlander striking out 250 guys? Like you can't compare that.
Right. Okay.
I think that's why baseball has a Cy Young and
Yeah.
MVP separate. I could be wrong on that. I guess I'll do some research on why baseball has separate awards like that. But unless if you have anything else, I think that is all we had for today's episode.
Yeah. No, I was just curious if what you thought if they should, because it's basically become the QB MVP.
Yeah, but I mean, even the draft has been so quarterback heavy the last 20 years too. Like everyone, like they say, the draft. Everyone tunes in the draft more if there's like a quarterback contract. Like this draft, everyone's all excited about because it's like when's the third quarter? Like the first two picks are quarterbacks, so the draft
Mm-hmm.
starts at pick number 3, and everyone's excited about this draft. Like
Yeah.
there's so much draft coverage out there right now.
Right.
And I mean, there's always a lot of draft coverage, but like that one year where Kansas City picked first and they took Eric Fisher, I
Mm-hmm.
don't remember anybody being really excited about that draft because there's no quarterback really at the top of the
Right.
draft.
Yeah.
So it's been a quarterback league for, I mean, most of modern history now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only going to get worse with that
Yeah.
because now the salary cap goes up. That means the quarterback pay is going to go up, not the rest of the players. They
Yeah.
should almost have like a quarterback salary cap and then the rest of the team salary cap.
I like that idea. Yeah.
I don't know.
Because
I don't know how doable that is, but like that's honestly what they should do at some point.
yeah.
But thank you guys so much for checking us out. Thank you for all the comments. This was probably our most commented video to date. We are really excited for the future of this show. There's just a lot of things lining up right now, guys, that are just tickling our bellies. I know that's an old person saying. I'm an old person. Sue me. But we are like ecstatic right now about all the stuff going on. And we will share with you guys more in detail when we feel comfortable with it. Some stuff could change in the last hour so we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. But it is looking very promising for some very special guests, at least one, possibly two.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, we have Jeff from Rounders, and we are really excited about him too. He has a
Mm-hmm.
encyclopedia of baseball knowledge. And if you haven't listened to his show yet, go ahead and look up Rounders on Spotify. If you love baseball, he talks the history of baseball. He's been doing a series last couple of days or last couple of weeks of just different stories. For example, he had an episode about Thurman Munson, the old Yankees catcher. So be sure to give him a listen. Go follow him if you haven't yet. Show him some love too. He's a great guy. But thank you guys so much for checking us out today. Be sure to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. And all of our episodes are also on YouTube too. So be sure to check us out on YouTube and our Facebook page. For questions or comments, leave us a comment on any of the platforms or send us an email at hardballsportstalk@gmail.com. And thank you guys so much for all the support. And we will talk to you guys on Monday. On Monday, we will rank our coaching hires, and we might have some other stuff for you guys. We'll talk about that though. Thank you guys so much for checking us out. I hope you guys have a great day.